How's it going, y'all? It's Man Tomorrow here. Yeah, about the after comments about what Mike was talking about on the Black Brain Trust channel. You have to realize that there's only two types of black men, three really, that are left here. There's the people who want to move on regardless of what happens. What's going on, Goshen? There's people who want to move on regardless of what happens. There's people who want to stay regardless of what happens. And you have people sitting on the fence acting like they don't know what's happening. And those are the three groups of black people that are left. Man, that is. You have to realize that most of these people you're not going to be able to work with, man. You got to be able to work with like-minded people. And what Mike witnessed over there in Rwanda, once you start immersing yourself in them type of environments, every time you witness order, your life changes forever, and you have absolutely no regard for people who have a basis for not maintaining and holding order and high status. You truly have to realize that this stuff really isn't all that hard. It's just that once you start figuring out where your time goes and where your money goes, you're going to realize that most of that stuff was not going towards your future. It was going towards making someone else comfortable with who you are. So you have to realize that most of this stuff is on you, and it always has been. But most important of the things that you do is where you actually spend it once you're done. Because what you're trying to build do matter, but if you're trying to spend it with the wrong people, you're finished. We have this system in the Black community where we kind of starve men out to the point to where they'll accept anything and then laugh at the same Black man right after he makes the decision that he shouldn't have made. No one should be threatened by free choice. Nobody. Especially when those people are exercising the same free choice in your face without regard. That's why, man, you got to separate it so that way you can be able to think straight. Because if you spend your time in these environments surrounded by these people, you become one of them. You'll start acting just like them. You'll start appreciating the same things they appreciate. And overall, as long as your life is actually going somewhere, you're going to end up just like them. I mean, just ask yourself, what's the end goal? What's the end goal? Because everybody talks about a lot of stuff, but no one talks about the end goal of the way things are running. Because right now, this linear regression is pretty obvious. Pretty obvious at this point. And you have to realize that if you don't find happiness without these people being around, a rematch for what? He believes one thing, I believe another. I don't think these people are part of the Black race as much as they want to claim that they are, and he does. I don't think everybody should be saved. I think the best people should be saved. That's how that works. I don't have a generalized love of everybody just because they have Black skin color. That's it. I mean, I'm actually helping Black men today with stuff. I don't think he's helping Black women today with anything. I think he's pretty much trying to lay down the actual standard that it's still okay to save these people no matter what type of condition that they're in. Well, they wouldn't do the same thing for you, and that's what I operate from. Noticing that up front. I don't know. I keep going from two different things here. Whether these people are just pure evil or they just undisciplined. It's not like people who've done things in the past can't become good. But how does the undisciplined become disciplined when there's not enough time on the clock? Pretty much, you would just have to be taking a chance on people you don't know who don't have a track record, even though you know where there are actual culture. And I don't think that's a good idea. It's easier to find new people to deal with than fixing the old people who's around. I'm just saying this stuff ain't gonna work. Whoever thought that making good decisions for yourself and staying out of problematic environments would be considered a threat? Who would ever think that? Yeah, it's going to okay. Say, well, yeah, man, I like that. Yeah. It's just at the end of the day, man, we're at a standstill. The children of 2053 is going to be born in the next probably I'm gonna say 10 years at best. What's going on, Penny Stock Investor? That's a really good channel, Penny Stock Investor. Make sure y'all subscribe to this channel right here. And obviously King Signals. Edward Anderson, it don't even matter, man. Because at the end of the day, the people with no power, they don't matter anymore, dude. The reason why I have these conversations is to show how absurd it is even talking to these people. But I just don't want you doing that in your personal life. So you have to realize here that obviously we're not going in the right direction. Obviously, we're trying to empower the wrong people. Hey, they wouldn't be complaining if they pick right, wouldn't they? I don't care. I don't care what they say. Shit. It's supposed to be a neutral zone, right? I don't even worry about it. Well, let's be frank. You have to realize that these people are actually highlighting themselves as people who you shouldn't deal with. There's nothing left to the imagination. So you have to truly realize that they're looking for reasons not to make progress. It's not you, the person who don't want to put up with stuff. It's them, the people who are heading this stuff. And as long as you know that that's exactly what they're doing, and as long as you know that they're not going to be the people who's going to be benefiting off of your labor later on in life, you already won. Yeah, it's the same type of shit they'll say to anybody who they vehemently disagree with. Black Rule Strikes, yeah. You have to realize, man, that skipping over these people is very easy. The only thing you have to do is don't bring them in your house. Only thing you have to do is don't team with them for nothing. You have to treat these people like they're a different race of people. And you have to understand that your people come from the mindset, not the skin color. The community come from the mindset, not the skin color. What's going on, Mike B? What's going on, Brandon? So as long as you move yourself mentally and emotionally away from trying to get their validation, you've already won. Winners don't talk this much. Think about it. After the Super Bowl, how many interviews did they do with the Kansas City Chiefs versus how many videos and interviews that they did with my team, the San Francisco 49ers? All this blame going around. Yeah, I do. I do think that those people did make some bad decisions, But at the end of the day, you blew a lead. And these people are blowing the future intentionally. They're not enemies, they're saboteurs. Saboteurs are actually worse than enemies. An enemy wants to see you destroyed. A saboteur wants to see you try for progress and then they destroy or sabotage the stuff that you do. You mean to tell me that these people don't know or understand what they're doing is wrong? You tell me that you don't know, that you don't understand that this stuff is not going to work? That all you have to do is build for them and that will make them happy. As much as they have these communist ideas, in the land where women have free choice and men, they could have chose communism by picking a decent, actual building guy who had a future. They could have picked somebody who give them the exact results that they were looking for. The thing is, they're too late for that. And my grandfather told me that it is better to go to one funeral than 1,000 wakes with an empty casket. These people are doing this deliberately on purpose because they know you agree with that you don't want to see them suffer. They are self-immolating right in front of your faces right now because they want to be taken seriously by people who they don't respect. They already have a community, man. Why you think they're trying to get you to join their team if they're doing so good? Look at how many people who apparently want all these decent dudes. You don't see those women in the Black Brain Trust chat. You don't see them there. Because these people want to benefit from progress. They just don't want to work for progress. And you have to realize that this stuff is self-inflicted. It's on purpose. Every time you come around to try to move the conversation to another place, here we go, a suicide maggot trying to bring you right back down to square one. The great thing about the information age is that you can see the cycle over and over again, repeat itself over and over again. It's the same cycle. And as more of these women start to wash up on the shores from their failed life out there on the carousel, they're going to try to make it your problem. And I'm going to tell you when they're going to strike. It's right after this election. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Penny stock investment. We need good brothers like you. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's just that who I am started with my grandfather, passed to my father, and then it came to me. The only thing I'm doing is I've already separated myself from those things. So that way I can be able to focus and concentrate on the things that I need to do. You have to realize that these people are going to have to start putting some points on the board, man. And they're going to have to start taking more responsibility for these cowards and frauds who they're trying to send out here to go after the youth, to sabotage those people and ruin their lives. This acronym should not scare anybody who has a good track record. But it does put a lot of fear in the heart of people who've done nothing with their lives. Most of these people got anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a year back because of the kids they had. Did nothing with the money, blew it every single year. That's all it is, King Sigma. They're just doing that for MAGO cred. No, they're trying to up their Daggle credit score by saying stupid stuff. That's all they're doing, man. They're not trying to build no community. They're trying to make it socially acceptable for decent, hardworking men to turn over their gains to one of these people so that way they can benefit. Because as you can see, nobody's over there being real productive. No, nothing, Rael. He was just talking about the order that he saw over there and how it's pretty much never going to happen over here. But that's the end of one conversation and the beginning of another. Because you have to learn that these people hate productive people, man. They hate them. They'll call you the people who have assimilated because you want to be a decent human being, that you don't want to live in an actual dumpster fire all the time. You don't want to hear gunfire and nonsense going on around you all the time. And if you don't want to do those type of things, then they consider you assimilated. But what about what they assimilated into? They assimilated into the white supremacy that they claim they're running away from. They're the real white supremacists. Yeah. Spoiler alert, that's where they are, man. You have to realize that these people were never going anywhere in life, man. Having a simple high school diploma and going to your average 2-year community college would put you people. Some of those people, 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, same talking points. So you have to realize you already won. Stop trying to look for a captive audience to celebrate. Sometimes you just got to have sense enough to leave the field when the clock hits 0. You don't stick around and try to shake hands with people like that after the game. They don't care about those things. They care about stagnation and inflicting pain among other people. That's all they care about. And as Mike B said earlier, none of the smoke for the dating coaches, none of the smoke for the unreformed criminals, no smoke for the wannabe pimps, no smoke for the scammers in the neighborhood, no smoke for them people. But all of it in the world for people who don't conform to the levels of actual men who they respect. This black community nonsense is nothing but a death code at this point. Yeah, they're communitized fundamentalists, hell bent on the destruction of black people and blaming it on somebody else. But you can stop the growth of these people in your lifetime. The only thing you have to do at this point in time is make sure you're okay. You have to withdraw from everything that you think that you know and concentrate on yourself. Because when you focus all your stuff inward and you're not focused on this stuff outward, you're going to realize how much time that you were wasting trying to get people's respect. You have to realize that these people are at the end of their rope. And these people are parasites. And they're running out of hosts. And they know what this acronym means. It means that they're finished and that they're done. And that they're circling the drain and that their time's almost up. They wanted to make you, the productive man, feel uneasy, not respected amongst them. When the only thing you had to do was accomplish all this stuff and move among people who do. The crazy thing is now, you can get your stuff together even faster than you can at any time in American history. You could get yourself together faster now than any time in American history. And we got people who are still waiting on reparations before they get started. When you don't even vote in the system that you want reparations from. Yeah, this sort of uprising was always going to happen in Black America. But you have to understand, you have to treat them as seriously as their track record. Because there's going to be a lot of thinking black maggots who's just going to try to come around here, co-op talking points, and turn around and try to do things that has nothing to do with moving forward. You're going to see who they are. They're going to pop up. I'm telling you, they're going to pop up. But you got to make sure that they don't make that transition on your watch and do not bring these people into your spaces to take them seriously. You have to understand the new community is going to be highly stratified. Here and around the world. Because there's going to be the people who got it, and the people who didn't, and the people who want to get it. It's crazy, man. You have to realize that these are not your people, man. I had to realize that a long time ago. I really didn't understand why my grandfather was kicking people out of the city. Like, man, I'm not gonna see that person again. It's like you'll see him when you get out of this house. But what I'm trying to teach you, they got nothing to do why those people leaving the city. You here because you're doing it right, and when you do it wrong, you're gonna be right outside there with them. Yeah. So you have to realize this, man. We already have a community. I'm like, we're just bringing people from inactive reserves to active reserves. The only thing you got to do is just not spend your productivity on these land throughs, and you won. That's it. Man, look, Zero Max, oh, I'm not even concerned about that, man. The information age will take care of the kids if they want to be taken care of. It's just a backdoor way of trying to get you to take care of this person who's made mistakes in their life, and you can't be doing that, man. So you have to get rid of this victim mind state. That's what they feed at. That's what they feed on. Victim mind state. As long as you're trying to account for all your time, dude, you're gonna pass these people up quicker than you think because you don't need to make much progress to be ahead of these people. So let me put the link out there. I gotta be out of here because got something to do at 6 o'clock. So she wants to come on and talk about this issue. We're not talking about the debate last night. We're not talking about nothing like that. We're talking about how we go forward without these people. Well, David Bowman, that's not true. That's why SBM is about making better decisions. Like black women are welcome. No one excluded black women. It's just that some of the people who come to this space looking for men are not the women who we trying to recruit, and not none of the women who people are trying to take seriously. It's like we need all new people with a new mind frame, not older people. What's going on, Edward?
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
What's going on,
Can
man?
you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah.
All right. No, absolutely. I mean, we've had offline conversations about moving forward. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been lazy about a lot of that stuff. But part of it is realizing that you're only as strong as your weakest chain. And that's for people to understand that there's certain things that each one of us as individuals need to be doing on a consistent, well, when I say consistent basis, I mean you need to be asking, what are you really doing? What are you doing to help empower yourself? What are you doing to help, you know, deal with, whatever like-minded people you're dealing with? I mean, Think and Grow Rich talks about your ability to plug into and work with the team is one of the most direct metrics by which you judge upon if you're going to be successful or not. So, like things like asking to like a video and stuff like that, that shit should be basic. I mean, but that's on some small stuff. So that'd be the first part.
Yeah. Yeah, man. For me, I mean, like what it took for me, it took, I was in a lot of environments where I was a very young guy around older people who already had established order. So that's how I kind of stayed out of, trouble a lot. You know.
Yeah, that's very true. Another thing is thinking long term. Like one of the issues with black people in general is they're very like immediate. everything is like in the now. You're not
Yeah,
responding,
immediate
you're
gratification is
reacting.
so horrible.
Huh?
I mean, it's a
From your
horrible way because that is how people been cultured was do thing, get reward. Do thing, get reward. And it's always paltry things that don't take a long time. And it's usually centered around money. So when you've been actually cultured like that, to look at things in that kind of way, it really messes you up. And you really have to kind of retrain yourself after you get out of these environments.
absolutely delayed gratification. But what I was also that speaks to the lack of delayed gratification discipline. But what I was also speaking to as well was the idea of um, well, it was another part of it too. But it was people, black people tend to react and not respond. The difference is when you react, someone's already bit you in the ass. You're like, oh shit. Well, at that point, it's too late. It's like beyond too late at that point. Versus responding is seeing something that's coming and being like, okay, how can I put myself in a position to not only weather it, potentially take advantage of this sea change? And this is what one thing that we lack. And this is something if you're looking at moving forward, that it's something you're gonna have to, be able to look at things through that lens.
Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, man, that people have to emotionally separate themselves from the idea that this is going to somehow end well, and that it's not on you to help that end well. It's up to them to produce the result that they're waiting on other people to produce for themselves. See, the problem
Exactly.
is, yeah, I mean, because the problem here is that most people here have been cultured to look at things a certain type of way. Because even when you separate from that, they have like these withdrawal symptoms to where they, rather than be there 7 days a week, they're there 5 days a week. And
Yeah,
then
I
when they're
call
there
that
five
guilt
days a week,
trips. They have guilt trips.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can I say something?
yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Peace, everybody. I can't be on here long. I'm out here walking around
Hey,
right
man, you got wind blowing, man.
now. Hold on a second. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, so I just want to say this. A lot of these people use their talking points, starting with slavery. And if anybody knows anything about slavery, slavery was a limitation on us economically and family. So the most important thing for Black people post slavery was engaging in business and formulating families. That's the basis of forming a community. Now we're having a conversation, and I think this is the first time that this conversation has been put to the point where it's run its course. We've been having the same conversation since the days of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington talked about how there is a cohort of Black people who basically get jobs off of putting the failures of Black people, uh, and basically talking about the failures of Black people. So you will see people say, like, if we say, well, no, this is, you have opportunities here. Look at somebody like Ben Carson. If you notice, a lot of times they'll respond back with, well, what about everybody else? Well, what about them? Ben Carson put himself in a position to become a neurosurgeon. He wasn't given that. He didn't have to sell out to get that position. He had to work to get into that position. He had to go study them damn books in the library. He had to delay his gratification for years while niggas was out in the club running, chasing after hoes. He had to say, you know what, this is more important than that. So what I'm saying is that really, to be honest with you, we shouldn't even have to be having this conversation at this level, because this is simple shit we're saying. Like one of the things that I asked one of we was on a pro-Black stuff for a while at the same time. And then I asked him a couple of years ago, I said, what made you get off of the pro-Black stuff? And he said, well, to be honest, he said, man, when I got my real estate license and I was going into the banks, man, It was the white dudes, man, that was giving me the loans to get my properties and make money. He said, so it was kind of hard for me to be on some like I hate whitey when it was the white dude that was putting money in my pocket. And so he said that to him, the real revolution is getting money. He said, what were we doing before we came in contact with white folks? He said, man, we were getting money. He said, as far as I'm concerned, he said, the real revolution is getting money. He said, because if your money is straight, he said, man, what the hell can white people really do against you? You know what I'm saying? And so the reality is that this is not even a complicated conversation. This is an easy conversation, but unproductive people who have no intention on ever being productive. That's why I understand what King Sigma was saying last night, because I feel how he feels to a certain degree too. We're past the point of a debate. We've already won a debate. Now it's about like, okay, who is going to move to what side and who is going to stay on this side? And the reality is that the reason why these people fight so hard is because they don't have any intention on building shit. If they had any intention on building something, they would actually listen to us and they would actually try to work with us. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the status quo going, because the status quo that's been going has allowed their mothers, their sisters, their aunts to get free shit from the government, man, for at least 5-6 decades, if not more.
I wanted to join in on something, MOT, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You know, going back to what Rael's talking about, you know, I reached out to Eugene Robinson this morning because I wanted to ask him how he was able to make such a good prediction in disintegration. And, you know, this is the 10-year anniversary of him writing that book. And I'm going to be holding a panel in a couple of weeks about really the real facts about what's going on with Black America in the year of the 10th anniversary of disintegration and also the 2020 census. And I'm hoping that he's going to do some kind of documentary or follow-up book, because pretty much everything that he said in that book came true. And something that stood out to me was when he made the comment, he said that more and more members of the 4 Black Americas live separate lives, and where these distinct groups rub against one another, there are sparks. So what he said in 2010 in that book, to me, is what has transpired over the last 10 years. And that's where we are in 2020. What has happened is that we've been living such distinct lives and interfacing with the dominant society and other, non-Black people, or even within, again, because he says that there's 4 Black Americas. So if you use his 4 Black Americas model, SYSBM it terrifies people, and Passport Bros not even as much. SYSBM terrifies people because these are brothers that's saying that I don't have to travel to find the kind of friends and woman and culture that I want. I could just stay right here if I want to, but I'm just going to go find people that I'm attracted to based on a socioeconomic status and assertive dating model. And he talked about that. So when you talk about the brothers that are saying, I'm living a freedom of choice lifestyle, these guys fit in the emergent class. And that's what terrifies a lot of the people that are in the abandoned poor. Because if you look at the model in the book that he wrote, he basically laid it out that there was like 10% that were in what he called the transcendent. Then there was another 55% or so in what he called the mainstream middle class. Then he had this unique group that we talk about a lot, the emergent group, and that represented biracials and also the immigrants that have come from African and Caribbean nations since 1980. Someone got a lot of noise, but the abandoned poor was like 25%. Now, remember, Eugene Robinson, he said even then that what he was seeing, and remember that was when Barack Obama was in his first term, he said what he was seeing in DC and being in Chicago, that this 25% was about to be locked into poverty. Now, he said that in 2010. No one foresaw Donald Trump coming later. So they were in the middle of a financial crisis at that time. You just had the first biracial president elected. You couldn't foresee Donald Trump. But even then, and now with what we know, he was right. What you have is that the abandoned poor, the bottom 25% on the economic ladder, they're almost to the point of being completely locked into poverty now, bro. While the other groups, So you have this other Native Black Americans. They're starting to merge themselves with those with the middle class mindset. Because remember, the middle class is the largest population of blacks in America, according to his model, around 55%. So they're merging with the immigrant blacks that are coming here and with the biracials, and that's going to lock in that abandoned poor. So that's where we're at. But I'm going to just leave it at that unless someone else has the mic. But I want to throw it out there is that that's where a lot of this friction is coming from, because we don't interface as black native individuals in this country or emergent blacks the same as like the abandoned poor. So what you have, abandoned poor-minded individuals, what Thomas Sowell calls the black rednecks, you're bringing them together with people that have a totally different social conditioning and perspective on what it means to be a Native Black American. And he said it in his book, it's going to have sparks. And if we continue to force each other together in these digital spaces, it's just going to get worse and worse, period.
Yeah, I'll speak on that, King Sigma. Hey, just like, last night, you could see a huge difference, when MOT started, me and MOT are around the same age, younger Gen Xers. And what has happened is a perfect storm, because guys like us, we saw the destruction of what older Gen Xers and baby boomers did, the crack era. And we completely, we did things like join the military, leave out, get contracting jobs and just decide to leave. And we passed that on. The younger generation saw our struggle and they just, basically did a left. Guys like you, King Sigma. And then, Barack Obama empowered the BW, basically. But at the same time, did nothing for for us. And we all decided to wake up at the same time. And Donald Trump coming into office and slamming these restrictions on all this handout mentality. At the same time, SYSBM, all the producing brothers said, you know what, we out. That perfect storm right there is sending them into a tizzy.
Yeah.
Well, listen to the way out of it, Trey, because one of the brothers in the chat had just mentioned how, like, for example, someone like Dr. Ben Carson, how he's called a coon and a sellout. And I'm thinking to myself, because Eugene Robinson, he's a guy that he's from South Carolina. He, spent the first couple of years in Jim Crow. He was one of the first to integrate like the University of Michigan and the Washington Post and things like that. But he uses a lot of examples of like DC and the evolution of Washington, D.C. just over the last 60 years. And he talks a lot about how, people like Vernon Jordan, Valerie Jarrett, and all these people have these big get-togethers that 60 years ago, you didn't have this huge transcendently black class that was so disconnected from the rest of Black America, because even up until 1970, do you guys realize that like 65% of all Native Black Americans were in poverty or within just like one paycheck of poverty? Now, today, only a quarter of Black Americans are in poverty, which is still way too high for, a superpower like the United States. But just think about that. It's been cut down by 40% over the last 6 years, despite all of the challenges that Black Americans have faced. So, you just have this situation that it's actually been an ongoing thing for 6 decades now. And what has happened is that I think that a lot of people that see this, that the ship has already left the dock and it's still not far away enough that some of them can't swim to it, but they know that there ain't very many days left for them to stay in that kind of black redneck mentality without being left completely in that permanent underclass. And I think that they're just in a stage of like total fear right now, man.
All right, now if I could ask you, King Simmer, real quick, what is the name of that book again that you're talking about? Where you said the 4 Black Americas? Disintegration,
the Splintering of Black America by the Pulitzer Prize winning Eugene Robinson. He writes for the Washington Post. He's a political analyst. Yeah.
Okay, because I want to get that book. Hold on. I believe I've heard about it before, but I never read it. But yeah, I'm gonna get that book.
It's a hell of a read, man.
It's audible.
Yeah, it's a hell of a read, man, because he's such a good writer, as being a journalist, and he just weaves such a good narrative to tell the story. But people like Webb Du Bois, Dr. Du Bois, or Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who is the founder of what we call Black History Month this month, he would shed tears listening to what some of these people say about the educated Black people. If he could, can you just imagine Dr. Du Bois joining a panel with Carter G. Woodson, and then you got these Black rednecks talking about you're a coon, you're a sellout. I mean, we just fail so far. You know, he used the example in the book about Dunbar High School. A lot of you know about Dunbar High School. That was like
Right.
like Dunbar was like the first public school for blacks in America. And because of the dynamics of Jim Crow, that school had like all these black, you know, teachers and professors whose children went there, and they were just like the top performing school for like 50 years until, you know, obviously DC was more integrated. But there was a time when black excellence and black high performance was the standard. That was the model that everyone strove for. Somehow, everything has just gone backwards over the last 60 years. And now black excellence is looked down upon unless the caveat, black women are performing. But black male excellence is looked down upon.
Right.
And everything is flipped.
And hold on.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on, GK, real quick, because you know I'm a big Thomas Sowell guy. Like I got all his books. I wanted to ask you. I have a lot of his books. Have you read? Because I did read. What was it? White Liberals, Black Rednecks. Did you read that?
Well, I didn't actually read. I listened to it. I listened to the audio version of it. But I
read it, and I thought that book. I thought it was excellent in the points that he made. And I feel like that book should be standard reading for progressive-minded black people, because it teaches a lot, provides a narrative where it teaches a lot about where, you know, the dysfunctional elements came from in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, you learn a lot as a black American when you read that book. I mean, I just want to get that out there.
Well, you know what you're saying is that, see, I just listened to the audio version, but yeah, he basically said that black redneck culture came from white redneck culture. You know, that was the basic argument, that it was actually just a reflection of white redneck, white trash values that black people adopted. You know, that's basically where it came from. So they think that they're doing something original, so they consider it counterculture. Black rednecks consider their culture to be some kind of counterculture, but they don't understand that they're like actually the greatest auxiliary of the same white dominant society that they complain about.
It's kind of like from oh, go ahead.
Just another example to point out is he talked about how the Scotch-Irish men in the South prior to the Civil War, how, you know, they gambled, they participated in all types of vices.
Yep.
They would only work long enough to get a certain amount of money, and then they wouldn't go to work, and then they would go spend all that money and bullshit it. And then when they were broke, then that's when they would ask for work again. And then when I look at that, I'm like, well, shit, you know, what is the difference between that and the phenomenon we talking about going on in the inner cities? And there is no difference. Like, we picked up that behavior, you know what I mean?
Fact.
Hey, I'll speak on that. And it comes from, you know, if you look at, you know, I'm a big proponent of, you know, the Black Power movement of the, you know, the late 60s and early 70s, around when Vietnam was going on. My mom was a Black Panther, so, you know, I started doing all the readings from it. And I look at it, you got guys like, you know, H. Rap Brown, Fred Hampton, Huey Newton, Eldridge Cleaver, and, you know, they, you know, went like, they were like the warrior class. And an analogy for me is like, it was a baton pass. Like, you know what, here we go. We put in all this work for you. We got the guns. We were on the front line. All right, next generation, here you go. And the next generation fumbled it. And what happened, what took place was this whole crack epidemic, the single mom epidemic, you know, the whole welfare epidemic. And in the 80s, for all of y'all that went to school in the 80s, who were intelligent and carried books, did your homework, were in the honors classes, you know, all of a sudden you got clowned. But if you talk to the people that were one generation before us, you know, it was excellence. It was like, you know, you look at their school yearbook pictures, you know, they dressed nice, they dressed well, suits, ties, and that and the other. But in the 80s, you know, everything just started going downward. And a lot of us, just to survive, you know, in the hood, we had, even though we were thinking black men, we had to fight just to survive, just to be able to carry a book and be intelligent. And that right there just continue to lead. And where has the baton gone? And now brothers like you, King Sigma, y'all are waking up.
Yo, can I just jump in? I just wanted to add a quick addendum to the Brain Trust Hangout. Peace, everyone. Okay. You know, we don't, Brain Trust doesn't have a predefined position in terms of SYSBM. We don't claim it. We don't really have a position or an opinion on the tenets or anything of that. The addressing of it, and again, this is just an addendum. This isn't to clear up anything Mike said. It's just an addendum because I wasn't able to join the stream. Is blackmail agency. Okay. And for what it is that we discuss on that platform, we're all fourth industrialists. And so agency is essentially acquired. It's required if you're going to have any level of participation in it. So I think just from a fundamental standpoint, anything that would oppose blackmail agency isn't something that aligns with like fourth industrial based technocratic principles. Because that's the paradigm we're quickly being embedded in. So you know, any notion or any idea that we should not, one, engender our own agency, and then two, pursue global affairs. And you know, that could be it could be business, it could be political, and then even within that, there could be romantic interests. I don't know. I mean, that, you know, I'll leave that to that falls in the realm of agency. It's whatever you choose to pursue in your pursuit of conducting global affairs. So just an addendum. That's our position. Anything that goes opposed, that is opposed to us being global minded, you have to wholesale reject it.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi to everyone on the panel. I have a question. Maybe it pertains to SYSBM, or maybe it's something more broad even than that, including as a complex design was referring to the fourth industrial complex, I guess. And that is, I guess my question is, how do you visionaries envision what it will to be a black man a generation or two from now? I mean, will there be any sort of quote community? And I'm using that term very loosely here, and certainly do not intend it as it has been referenced in regards to the problematic areas of Black people, but more in the future. Will there be a community of you like-minded men? How will that look?
It will look it will look a lot like they'll be organized, and they'll be sort of global centric, right? So it'll be all
how will you look?
You said how will I what?
I mean, like, even like phenotypically, for example. I mean, how will everyone? How will you look?
Well, here's the thing. If we look all throughout history, I mean, a lot of the races modern day races that we have today are admixtures, right? So there's this preconceived notion that we're all like fucking pure or something. That's bullshit. There's always been migration. I don't think you can point to a time throughout history where humans didn't migrate. They didn't intermix with their environment, and then from there, new strains of people were created. I mean, I think this is just all a part of a macro evolutionary situation that's going on. And I think the driver at this particular time is fourth industrialization, because it's actually accelerating things. See, so I mean,
would you? I guess because, you know, prior to this time, we Black men did not migrate as much, at least. I mean, even within the United States or continental United States, you know, we did not intermingle or intermarry as much. So,
wait, go ahead, Black Room.
Well, I guess it's just my question is, do you anticipate that your grandsons will be Black men in the way that you are black men?
No. No, I don't. I don't have, like, all of my nieces and nephews for the most part are biracial. I fully expect my daughter to probably marry interracially. My wife, we both kind of had that inclination. So these are realities that I reconciled long ago.
Yeah. Now, Black Yuri, now you asked what will the black men look like, or what was your question exactly? I want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, just several generations from now, I mean, just kind of trying to visualize what will a black man, a futuristic black man, a fourth industrial black man look like?
I think that it'll be, I think that, again, because of our numbers, I think we underestimate our numbers. You have to remember that with 40 million of us, and if you broke that down by nations, you could have 4 separate nations, and they would be some of the biggest nations in the world. So let's say even abandoned poor, they're gonna mostly be doing intermixing with each other. You're gonna have a lot of black men in the middle class, for example, marrying Negroid phenotype women from the Caribbean and the African diaspora over the next generation. Now, the transcendent elite, I think you'll see the highest rate of mixing amongst the top 10% income brackets. I think that's where you're going to see the Obama, the biracial man in that class. But I think a lot of black men like myself, I'm almost certain that my black child will be a dark-skinned black child, most likely, because I just think I just like brown-skinned women. You know what I'm saying? But she just won't. She most likely won't be ADOS though. But she'll, my children will most likely be from an African woman at the rate that I'm going. So I think you'll have a mixture. But I think that you'll find that the biracial class will be really heavy in that top 5%. So like Obama, he has 2 black daughters, but more than likely, at least one of them is going to marry a white man at the rate that she's going, and the other one may as well too. So there you go right there. So you had
But hold on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
If I could add with this, what I find it's a very interesting phenomenon with black biracial people. Is what happens is even when black people do go biracial, what I find interesting is a lot of times the offspring of the biracial person or the lighter skinned person will grow up and intentionally pick a darker skinned person for it's almost as if
I've seen it.
It's almost as if the genes themselves are trying to correct themselves, or there's some sort of phenomena going on. It's like the lighter we get, the more we want to go back to being dark.
There's a concept. There's a concept. There was a study that was done. It was called Browning of America. Okay. Now we don't oftentimes really think about the very real scenarios which may lead to something like the majority of the population being some sort of hue 50, 60, 100 years into the future. However, when you look at the day-to-day reality, you can kind of see the trends that would actually lead to a conclusion like that. So again, what we're actually observing here is evolution in real time. And fourth industrialization and technology has basically sped up the process to the point where we can actually observe it in real time.
Yep.
Okay, so the thing about it is this: when you say, you'll get a white dude and a black woman, or a white woman, black, or whatever it is, they'll get together, they'll have a kid, and then the biracial kid might have a tendency to kind of go towards something that's maybe a little bit darker than them. Okay, but if you again look at the Browning of America study, there's going to be some method to this madness, right?
There has to be.
But I also think
there has to be.
The policies that are being passed are also being left out, because again, I remember when Time magazine did that whole thing and they were talking about how, the future was going to be Latino and black and all that. But here's the thing that people are forgetting. Politicians and other groups are on the other side of that discussion. So the white thing with them getting rid of Roe v. Wade next year, that's going to have an impact.
Right.
With Donald Trump himself, he just passed another travel ban last month, barring like Nigerians and other people from other black and brown countries. And he said, he came out and openly said it. We need more white people. So he's opening the borders. He wants to bring in more people from like Sweden and a lot of these dying European countries to help repopulate in the face of overturning Roe v. Wade and restricting white women's ability to, get rid of children. So that is also something that has to be taken into consideration, is that I've never heard in history ever where there's just like this linear thing that happens. There's always black swan events. There's always a surprise that no one saw coming. And I think people should not underestimate the amount of policies that Trump, the judges that he supports, are going to pass to try to keep that white population at least where it's at, or to grow it over the next decade.
And if I could just add in this as well, with the talk about the white population and that kind of thing. I have my theory. I think that the more white people become a minority, or the lower their numbers get in the population, I think the more reactionary they will become to a lot of things. And I feel that I wouldn't put it past them in the future to try to make a move towards them trying to form like some sort of ethno state, or some sort of like white homeland, or like a refuge for them.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. But it's a signature
stuff like that.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you in the background while I let Super Chairs up. All right.
All right. I don't put that past them. I think at some point that's the direction that they're going to go. And also, you got to look at with the rise of China, the rise of India, the rise of Africa, the rise of the darker nations. I think white people in general globally are going to take a back seat. France is about to be a second-rate power within your lifetime. Okay, countries like France, countries like Portugal. Okay, and at some point, maybe even Great Britain, places like that.
They largely are, because the UE is already broken down.
Right, that these places are going to become second-rate places, and then you're going to have the rise of Africa coinciding with that. So, when I keep hearing this stuff about the what's going to happen with the black race, I think the black race is going to be just fine. We may not even change that much, because when you factor in globally, the population of Africa and how many people they have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see this as a big problem, what it really looks like, because at the end of the day, we need to be focused on wealth creation and actually getting the household sound before we start worrying about what things look like. I don't even think it's an argument. I mean, like, we were not worried on the correct thing, but then we start focusing on skin color when we should have focused on getting these charlatans out of our community before they start messing things up.
Well, MOT, I'd like to, and I think also, and again, I get, this is why I really did want to try to just add an addendum to this, because I really think, again, let's if at all possible, let's at least just try to make a distinction, right? SYSBM does have tenants and what have you. We are kind of speaking to black male agency though, so I don't know if that's like if it's directly exclusive to SYSBM, or if we can talk about the two as separate concepts, right? But no, I see. But what I do is but what it is, I see the attack on the SYSBM tenants as an attack on male agency, though, right? And that's why I just want to make sure I'm making the distinction. You're right, and speak to the notion or the idea, right, that black male agency shouldn't be pursued. That's fucking laughable. And like if you don't do it, you're literally not fulfilling your role as a male.
These people are communists, man. See, that's their mentality. They don't understand freedom. Like, they really don't understand freedom of choice at all. They're against it. And that's why I've said a lot of times that these people are not fit for a system like America where you have free choice. Like, they need to be in a system where they're told who to marry, told where to go, and it's a mediocre situation where everyone is given everything. But I'll mute up.
Well, King Stigma, what that would be is a technocratic society. Oh, guess who's raising their hand and who is an avowed technocrat? Right here, right? See, so if you want to leave it up to me, I'll make some shit happen. I just don't want to hear your fucking mouth once it's instituted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they want that though. See, that's the thing. They want something.
Okay, well then you know what? I'm the wrong fucking tree to bark up.
And that's what's so funny about them. Nothing that they say ever makes sense. Like they want it, what you're offering with words,
anywhere.
but they don't want the consequence of what that really means. You know what I'm saying? So they want to play this game forever, but they're the only ones that are losing in the game. They're gonna have to make a choice.
Well, I think it's kind of like I like to kind of forward think and just kind of plot out things from a trajectory standpoint. And when we look at, some of the decisions that we make as far as like dating choices, right? That accountability, or actually I won't say accountability, the scrutiny isn't there. Coupling is based on a black male and a black female, because that's just to be expected. Black male coupling with black female. Nobody ever questions the success rate, the outcomes of said union. Case in point, Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. But because they're black, we don't say anything. But if somebody is black and the other person is non-black, then all of a sudden there's this heightened level of scrutiny regardless of the outcome, which really doesn't make any sense to me, whatsoever. And when we look at, like, say, for instance, like your choice as far as like you may, choose to pursue somebody, who doesn't look like you. And based on that outcome of your decision, like if we actually looked at these quote unquote unions that are composed of people from different ethnicities, like what are the actual outcomes in comparison to people of the same, phenotypical appearance? And if we actually looked at that, because I think that most people who make these decisions, theoretically, when you look at some of the tenets of SYSBM, one would assume that you're wantonly making these decisions based on just how somebody else looks. So we're just going to exclude a certain demographic from the equation. That way it takes away that particular agency for that decision-making process. But based on the outcomes, that isn't necessarily the case. What we see is that guys who actually choose someone outside of their ethnic group generally make rather good decisions based on the outcomes, because there's that high level of scrutiny. And, you actually make that decision based on what actually works for you, as opposed to me making a decision based on, I feel as though if my social circle will accept this person because we look alike. And I think that it goes beyond, again, we have to look at some of the other groups that look like us out here and how they're able to function separate and distinct from the black community. I think that people, especially those who are consider themselves to be upwardly mobile or aspire to be upwardly mobile and don't want to be constrained by some of the societal constraints that people of lower socioeconomic strata often confine themselves to, should be able to redefine themselves and operate separate and distinct, much like a lot of the African immigrants and some of the Caribbean immigrants who come here do. Some of the Latino, what you consider Afro-Latinos, they come here and they actually, operate separate and distinct from African Americans. Yeah. Now, sometimes they'll consider themselves part of the group when they feel as though they can benefit from it, from an association to that particular demographic. But oftentimes they reference their country of origin, not a specific ethnic group.
And that's called agency, Super Triz. When you do things that work best to your advantage, right? Not to the advantage of a group of people where they may benefit from it, and then you don't. But that's the schism there. That's the schism there, right? If I do what's in my best interest, right? And see, the thing is this: I may come off smug or arrogant or as an asshole, but I'm not really one in real life, So I'm a spread the wealth kind of guy when if you really got to know me. The first order of business though is that I'm gonna do what's in my best interest.
You know what though? What I'm starting to like think about when I hear all you guys talk over the last few months, I've come to the realization that outside of like struggle and poverty, that's about the only thing tying black men like ourselves to other blacks that have these kind of plantation arguments. See, but when you go beyond, when you take away the struggle part and you take away the poverty, you don't have anything sustaining that relationship anymore because they're not going to embrace the kind of values that someone like yourself embraces or someone like me. So once you dissolve,
we're not compatible.
Yeah, you're not even compatible at all anymore.
We're not compatible. Yeah.
So that's why we're having all this stress that they're on that side, because they're coming to the realization that we're not even compatible, and you can't use the skin color, because you could drop me in the middle of Africa with my dark brown skin and I would fit in anywhere, or in Latin America. So that ain't enough no more, man.
Yeah, and look, and that's the reality, because see, all that shit that you just said, like the community and the struggle and the blah 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 and the this and that. I mean, look, we ain't all living that shit. See, so my interests just may not be aligned with yours.
Well,
I can wholesale accept that shit. I'm cool with that. You just gonna have to be cool with it as well.
Of community, because we all operate within the community, whether you believe it or not. One of the communities that we often operate in is a healthcare community. So through our employer, we have a certain premium. Some of us have a premium, subsidized by our employer, or, we don't actually see the premium reflected on a deduction, but our actual, our actual pay rate is commensurate with what the employer would have deducted anyway. So, and instead of getting paid $100 an hour, you get paid $90 an hour, as opposed to somebody getting paid $100 an hour and they just see $10 deducted from their paycheck. It's the same thing. But at any rate, we're all joined by that sense of the community. And how that community operates is that some people that are healthy, myself, Complex, maybe King Sigma, everybody in the panel, we're all healthy. We either eat right, or we engage in regular physical exercise, or we do a combination of both. And so we really don't do much besides do our annual checkups, and we go see our doctor, everything is fine, and then we go about our merry way. Now we have other people within this community who are maybe don't take care of themselves, or maybe there's just some congenital things that go along with them. And so they find themselves consistently going to the hospital. And they're going to the clinics, they're doing certain things, they have to, expensive medication they have to pay for. So while everybody's contributing to the pot, there's certain individuals that consistently take more from the pot. But it's balanced out by the people who don't actually utilize that actual resource. But we have it there as a contingency plan, because we're conditioned to, to prepare for the future, prepare for, the worst. But we don't actually take from that pot. But because of that, it all evens out. But what happens is that you have people who don't contribute at all, but still benefits from an association with that community. And I think that's where the issue is that we have people consistently promoting community, but these are the individuals that are not planning to contribute their fair share. They plan to actually take more from that pot than they actually contribute.
Or wait for you to fucking die so that all your shit can go to them.
Those days are done, though. They're not being realistic, though. You could just look at the situation with Trump, how he cut food support last month. He cut almost 1 million people off food support without even hesitation. And he's also doing raids across America right now today as we speak. They announced that they have a special program that ICE is running in 10 urban cities, and they're going to be deporting a whole bunch of people over the next 90 days. So Trump is moving in a certain way. He's making cuts. He's taking illegal immigrants out of the country. He's going to force you to take those jobs, or you're going to starve to death, basically. So there's things in play that no one's going to be able to stop. The Supreme Court has already given Trump pretty much a blank check on immigration policy, and the Congress and the Senate can't stop him. Well, the Senate is on his side with the cuts. So you're in a situation where you're going to have to figure out what skills I need, what improvements I got to make, what kind of downsizing I need to do to get out of debt to compete and just go. But this whole idea of the victim and this everlasting welfare state, bro, you had a good run with the welfare state for 50 years. It's over.
Hold on, King Sigma. I got to give King Sigma some pushback. I got to give you some pushback, and I'm gonna give you an example how. Right? I'm in the state of Washington, Seattle in particular. The city of Seattle has just passed the ordinance. I don't know if it's called an ordinance or a statute. I'm not to the exact nomenclature.
Yeah.
But they passed some type of through city council where now I can't evict tenants during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if they don't pay, they can stop paying like on December the 1st, and they cruising until like the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think even though we have somebody at the helm right now, which would be Donald Trump, there is a degree of autonomy for each individual state, county, and province, whatever the case may be. And so even though you may say, okay, well, Trump is making efforts to minimize the actual welfare, the states have allotments themselves, and they can actually, affect, municipal tax. They can affect, school tax and things like that. And they could still relinquish, you have to relinquish resources to subsidize somebody else. And then to make matters worse is that you have people who are getting public assistance in one way, shape, or form or another. Yet they still go and double dip. It's like you already get welfare, but then, you ask me for, you ask me if I got a spare cigarette, ask me if I got some spare change. You got signs out. It's like,
but there's an unintended consequence. But what you say is true. Certain cities will try to pass ordinances, but here's something that you leaving out. There's always unintended consequences of every action. So when you do like a rent control, you end up sometimes creating a worse problem than you had in the beginning. New York has had that problem where you get rich people living in rent controlled housing while the homeless rate continues to go up. Also, those people do not renovate those buildings, so you end up getting lower quality homes when you look forward into the future, because there's no incentive for the landlords to make improvements to those kind of homes. So then you get that issue. So you get the fact that you'll have richer people that shouldn't be living in them homes, living in them, while the homeless rate grows up. You'll have less people building more homes because, again, unless the government's going to take on that responsibility of building more houses, which we know that they won't, the private sector doesn't have as much of an incentive to build more homes because they want to get top dollar. That's why free markets work. They want to get if they're going to make an investment, they're going to get the maximum amount. So those are two unintended consequences of rent control that we already know about. Here's another thing with Washington. I'll give the mic back. We know that Washington, as liberal as it claims to be, they just overturned an affirmative action program. The Chinese up there and the Japanese. So they don't want affirmative action anymore. So already we also see that what used to be a liberal Seattle and Washington, they're starting to get a lot of pushback from certain groups in Washington against a lot of like the affirmative action programs and welfare programs. So yeah, they might be a solidly blue state today, but as we saw with Wisconsin in 2016, that eventually flipped. There's going to be a lot of flipping over the next decade, bro, because a lot of these Asians that are moving in from Vancouver and places like that, they're more higher income and they're actually more attracted to the GOP.
Yeah.
So those I don't see how that policy can last over the long term. It's going to cause increases in crime.
Yep.
And property values are going to go down. Reductions in revenues from real estate taxes. It's going to have a calamitous effect over any particular any appreciable time period. So I don't see it lasting very long.
You saw what happened with Seattle and Amazon. They tried to put that tax on Amazon and Microsoft. What did Microsoft say? We out of here. They turned that ordinance over the next month. They tried to put like a big tax on Microsoft and Amazon in Seattle. You said what?
They sure did. They sure flexed their power.
Yeah, they
you know, and that's one. I didn't mean to cut you off, King Signal, but that's one takeaway that I will say. Jay Sean made a significant point when he talked of. He alluded to specific demographics of men coming together, and that being the source of their power. While we fly high, but we're flying solo, where other groups are flying in flocks. And so if we want our interests to resonate with individuals who create policy, there has to be some sort of collaboration.
But here's the thing, there's no collaboration where there's no contract. Here's where I would push back on you, Super Trey. See, here's the difference. This happens every time people try to compare American blacks to other groups. The groups you're talking about, they have formal and informal contracts in place on how the different social economic groupings are to deal with each other. You don't see rich whites associating themselves with poor whites to that extent like that. They don't roll like that. Now, They use them for what they need to be used, but there's a contract, there's a social contract in place. There's family relationships in place. With the problem with Native Black Americans, there is no contract in how we're supposed to treat each other. Then when you add in a sexual contract that the feminists shred in 1988, what you're saying, you want collaboration without a contractual arrangement. The United States, based on the markets are based on contractual arrangements. Our political structure is based on contractual arrangements. When you're talking about Black Americans, they don't have, there's no basis for the kind of collaboration you want until we develop that basis, what I'm saying.
Well, that's why I said, that's why I asked earlier, and it kind of got, and I'll accept it as being my fault, because it kind of got derailed with respect to how your grandchildren will look. I was really more actually in line with what you're saying, Sigma, was more, who will your grandson be so that he will, and who will he be inclined to contract with? I guess that's my question, because in the example, hold on, Sigma. In the example you're providing, you're referring to men that are very often, if not in some cases exclusively, of the same or interconnected nationalities, familial backgrounds, some sort of shared national history or whatever, where they have at least some baseline code of behavior and expectation and morality from which they can build business relations and things of that nature. So when I ask who your grandson will be, I guess my question would be, who is he going to be, and how is he going to be able to form similarly mutually productive relationships?
He's going to be with your granddaughter. I think he's going to be with your granddaughter, because it all, like MOT has been saying, what I've been saying for months, bro. It always goes back to the household culture. So I know a man like yourself, you're going to raise the kind of daughters, and they will raise the kind of children that can be with my children. It's not this big complicated thing. All the men that are fathers have to do is choose better women and raise their daughters. That would solve like so many damn problems. I don't know why we keep trying to escape.
It's not like rocket science. It really isn't.
Like, okay,
well, to the extent that you are actually allowed to raise your daughters. I
have sole custody of my daughter.
Who actually culture like that, like the argument. I hope this isn't an argument that you are trying to say, is that if you pick somebody else, they're going to have racial alliances with somebody else. We already have most Black people who are not even racially aligned with intelligent people right now. So they're going to be making better choices and decisions in the future.
I'm not making an argument. I'm just trying to plot out, and I think Sigma communicates quite well. I think I was just trying to plot out, okay, in this new evolved world of the Black man, how does he formulate his family and culture in a way in which you all can come together and be productive together?
Markets change
irrespective of color.
Yeah. You do what
it's not skin color. That's the only thing that's going to.
Yeah, you do what works to your advantage.
Yeah. At a time when Black men were the most disadvantaged in this country, when they were before slavery, Black men started killing it when it came to like agriculture. That's why they implemented slavery, because even though Black men didn't have a lot of advantages coming from like the white home country, they had like a good work ethic. They understood agriculture. They started cleaning up. Fast forward to today, what you're seeing now, there's a resurgence in a Black renaissance, man. You have complex design. They're over there talking about the fourth industrial age all day long. Many of us are starting to pick up those talking points now because of the information they put out. What's going to happen is that your granddaughter, because you're raising daughters and you're having these conversations, they will learn from you, and Dean Complex is raising his daughter. And because Black men are having to adjust to their freedom and their responsibility, they're going to embrace this fourth industrial age over the next generation. And they're going to get to the top of these competitive industries, because again, we're still here in America and everyone's trying to get into America. And with more and more Black men understand that the time's running out to get ourselves strongly in these industries, you're going to have that happening. We just got to get these Black rednecks over there because they keep trying to interfere in the productive conversations. So we got to get them out of our conversations that are productive, period.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that, but King Sigma, I think, we're in, with the paradigm that we're in, and this is what I'm saying, like, I mean, at a certain point, I think, again, I'm speaking from an agency point. I'm not speaking from an SYSBM point. I don't do the acronym thing. I like to do things that work for me. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the new default setting has to basically be, okay, is what you're telling me, does that interfere with my agenda? Yes. Then it's just discarded, and that's just it. There's no other discussion to it, right? Like no matter the argument that has to do with some sort of opinion-based or philosophical argument about what your actions and motives out here in the real world are going to mean for the community writ large, right? And you have to understand that these opinions, these observations are coming from somebody who is not doing what you're doing. Right. See, so a lot of it is largely baseless to begin with.
Well, it kind of.
Hold on a second. Let's see the truth. I'm gonna drop you down. We got to go on 11 in the house, man. I'll get back to you. All right.
So I was gonna say to you, Complex. Here's the thing, man. See, again, this goes back to the social contract thing. Every kind of government ever created has some kind of arrangement between the ruling party and the people on how that arrangement is going to be. America has a constitutional republic. These people want no objective standard. They want no contractual arrangement, but this imaginary idea of this community, not based on competency, not based on production, not based on compatibility, and that's how gone that's how lost that they really are.
And,
bro. They don't under.
And King Sigma, to speak to that point, because we've come to this realization, or we understand this. Now the impetus lies at your foot. What to do? I mean, if you're going to maximize on your potential, right, to get the best outcomes based on your energy output, what is the smartest method to take? What is the most efficient road to take?
Man, you should always put your own rational self-interest first, man.
Okay, so this is what I mean. Like the idea, right, that black men should abandon their productivity.
It's crazy.
It's not even worthy of arguing against.
It's not. I agree with you.
It really isn't, dude. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not even sure why there was a debate yesterday.
Man, MOT and I had that conversation. He disagreed, but I said the same thing you said last night, bro. I feel the same way at this point.
Yeah.
But Jones just came on, so I want to give him a chance to get the mic as well. But I agree with you,
bro.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, big bro.
Go. We hear you.
Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, man. What's up, fellas? One of the things, you guys bring up some good points. One of the things that I like to say, like I said, my hashtag is "There's no debate." It still isn't. I heard some interesting stuff just the other night, last night, and I was kind of moving around. I was doing some business stuff. I wasn't able to really listen to everything as long as I would have liked to have. But I left my device on, just so I could at least hear some of this. And people talk about, well, you black men, you're not building anything, you're not working together, and you're doing all that. And the problem of what we have is we don't really know what a lot of us are doing. We're sitting here on YouTube talking shit, but we don't really know. They're not with what's going on the ground. All right, I know of brothers right now who own banks that I happen to be a member of. So I'm putting my money. That's what I'm putting in a black bank. These are brothers. I know of brothers right now in the city here in Manhattan, Harlem. Who own a REIT, a real estate investment trust company, who are buying up properties. All right, being rather profitable with them as well, in Harlem and in the surrounding area for affordable housing for black people. Currently, we're doing this. Okay, I can tell you right now, I tutored with the Harlem Children's Zone, which has over 65 sites around the city. Okay, and we're talking about essentially somewhere around 75, 80,000 students. Now, mind you, this is a drop in the bucket, but this is what brothers have put together. okay? And you can look at him. In fact, this guy actually has a documentary or out called "Waiting for Superman." You guys should take a look at that and look at what this man is doing and has done. All right, where he's put together a whole educational infrastructure inside of the New York City school system, where you have people that look like us, that do like us, are some of the highest performing students anywhere in this country.
Mm-hmm.
A story very few people know about. That's why I got involved in it. You have what's called Black Silicon Alley that I'm trying to get into right now, and these guys are making it really tight to get in because the Silicon Alley piece here. These guys are all the tech side of the game, and these guys are. I can't tell you some of the stuff these guys are involved in. There are Black people all around who are doing this on a regular and consistent basis. So and Pookie and Ray Ray and these other quote unquote. And I'm not here to bust on Pookie and Ray Ray because Pookie and Ray Ray shows up and they have the right attitude. I'm giving them a job. There's no question about it. But as far as a lot of these other black, how would I call these black? What's the word I'm looking for, guys? The blackety black of the blackety blackest out here walking around talking about how Black people are not doing this and how we're not doing. They're not anywhere around.
Nowhere. Nowhere.
They're nowhere around. They're walking
No
around
clue.
talking shit and over here talking about derelict hoes. You know what I'm saying? And of course you're not going to make bad moves with those you can't work with. When we talk about the tenets of, let's say, an SYSBM, this is really talking about, you have self-development. It's not ultimately not just about females. It's about your development, your self-development, your improvement. All right. You got to do this one person at a time, or you got to do it in groups of people who can work together. That's exactly what people are doing.
Yep.
Oh, you can't do it in small groups and because it doesn't work that way. No, that's not true.
Bullshit.
It's exactly what you
Exactly how it works.
do.
It only takes
Because
5
if
people
you're
to build a house.
The bottom line is this: you're not going to be able to work with everyone. And you're sitting here, you're looking at people who are doing a lot of talking and they can't work together, literally on YouTube. So how are you even talking to people that
Well, that's their job.
telling you how to get a community together and how to relate to many of these derelict ass fucking Black bitches? I mean, you want to roll and say that this is the game you need to be in? Come on, guys. I mean, we have to look at exactly what's going on the ground. What's the picture on the ground that you have to look at? And a lot of us are not aware of what many of us are doing. We're not aware of a lot of what we're doing out here. We're not aware, and that's a big part of the problem. That's why we're going to end up playing this, and we're going to play this on the Brain Trust. So we're all going to play what Black men think. It's Jenks Morton and these guys talked about all of this back in 2006, and that documentary never really filtered down into the community, and people never really saw
Not
it.
like it was supposed to.
I don't want
No, it's apropos for now, man. Sometimes people do things, and it might be a little bit ahead of its time, man.
It wasn't ahead of its time. It was right on time. The bottom line is that a lot of us didn't see it, and a lot of us sitting here running around talking a lot of craziness and don't really know what's going on. But we're talking like we do and we don't.
You got
We just from the Brain Trust. Just come from the content. Come from the continent. Just came from the continent.
You got it.
And then I'm sitting here talking derelict crap about some Black community you don't have. There's a giant Black community right down there that went through one of the most savage civil wars where they killed over 800,000 people in a little over
in less than a
90
month.
days with
3 months.
machetes. With freaking machetes, my man.
Man,
Here
right.
they are making cell phones, and I saw it.
And you niggas can't get hoods together after all this time.
Let me finish up. What's the first thing I
Go
saw?
ahead.
Some Black person come up on YouTube, make a video about how this is not a Black company, and I got some other individual that's on a email chain over here talking about these Black startups are owned by foreigners. This is the mindset of the Negro. This is the mindset of what many of these Negroes you have out here.
Well, you got to go back.
SYSBM, you damn right you got to go SYSBM, and that doesn't necessarily mean that means you're all separated and you're destroying the Black community. What do you want destroying the Black community? What Black community are you destroying? What are you guys talking about? What Black communities people even talking about?
The single mother Black community, but you got to go back to the source.
55 years after the Monahan report, I've done it. I've looked through it. And I've looked at it, and everything that was prognosticated back in '65 has come to pass today, and it's even worse. You got some female walking around here who's a beta male coon maker, telling you that you're a bitch, nigga. I mean, this is the kind of madness that we're sitting here dealing with. All right, but yet you've got other brothers who are here and they're not caught up in this craziness. They're forming companies, they're forming tech corporations, REITs, schools, institutions, banking institutions. Where are these black people walking around talking about, well, we got to recreate the wheel when we've got 10,000 of our dollars that go into the bank, only 4 of it go into a black banking system. All right, maybe you might want to close some of your mouths out there and go look at a black bank and start putting some money in there first. Okay, start doing that.
Say it again, brother. Say it again, brother.
Start living the life you're talking about.
Right? Oh shit.
Okay, because the SYSBM guys, okay, who are looking at, well, you know, if we really talk about the black community, people like Jeffrey Cannon, who I consider very much SYSBM, save yourselves black men and save yourselves black children. What did he do? Started a school system. Waiting for Superman. Go take a look at that documentary. Go take a look at it.
Very good documentary.
Give you insight into who these people are. These are institutions that we're building here. I don't see these, the blackity blacks and these other guys. These, I'll even call them black supremacy. Well, you got to fight white supremacy. What are you doing to fight?
Nagone, I have a legit question for you.
What are you guys involved in dealing with it? We're 45 million people here in this country. Okay, all right. Half of us are just about black men. Adult, grown black men. You look at about anywhere between 12 to 15 million. Okay, small number compared to 90 million white folks. We have to sit down and help to ensure up our own institutions, and many of us are doing it. But I don't see people talking about it. I don't see people getting into talking about building a real community. I see Africans coming over here. I'm over here in Harlem, and you can see these people coming over here from East Africa and so forth, and they're linked up. Okay,
I got a question for you.
Many of them want to link up with you. All right, but yet I see people talking madness and listening to derelict folks about calling you bitches and stuff, and then at the end of the day, what are they producing? They're not opening up banks. They're not shoring up your school system. They're not sitting back here building it, helping to build what you would consider a community or what some others would call community. But they're sitting here telling you what you're not doing. I mean, and to brothers who have their feet on the ground here, this is crazy. I mean, that's what I say. There is no debate. Go ahead. Go ahead, Complex. You're gonna ask me something.
Oh no, I just had a question for you. You brought up black banks. What is the percentage of people who are on all this shit that you think have money in a black bank? Because I'm raising my fucking hand. I got money in a black bank.
What's the percentage?
What's the percentage?
0.1% have them.
Fuck out of here, man.
0.1% of them.
So I mean, you put your fucking money where your mouth is. Don't tell me about community. You ain't got your money in a black bank. Get the fuck out of here.
So here we go. And Carver's been around a long time. Carver's been around. Okay, Carver's been around. That's the only game that's really good. That's the only game that's going on the way I look at it at this stage. All right. Okay. $10,000 that we put into the banking system. Only $4 of those dollars going to a black bank, and people are talking about fighting white supremacy. What the fuck are you talking about? All right. What the fuck are you talking about? The fact that I'm even dealing with a black bank itself is SYSBM all day. Now I know some of you can't make that connection, okay? But I want you to think about that, okay? I want you to sit down and think about that.
I think the building.
It's a powerful one. Think about it.
The building thing is such a joke at this point. When you look at
these are some of the tenets that we have to talk about. This is the business of man. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you look at this whole building argument, I mean, it's quite a joke. And the Kobe Bryant situation presented that with everyone's like, well, he's dying. His assets are going to go to his wife and his family and his black biracial daughter, as if it wasn't supposed to go there in the first place, supposed to go to them. And I'm sitting there like, what economy have the Hoteps built? Because again, it goes back to what I've been saying. If you have, just take the men, for example, if you have 3 million men that are saying, well, I'm going to go my own way, but then you still have this other 18 million that are there, they could build whole cities with a population of 18 million. but they refuse to do it. Then we go back to the income thing. When you actually look at the information from like the Department of Commerce on incomes amongst blacks since 1970, for example, you have like 6 times more black people making above $100,000 than you did in 1970. And the poverty rate has gone down from like 65% to 25%. So for most blacks, it's been tremendous progress, at least economically. These people are still living in a civil rights moment and don't even know the real data. So when they say, why aren't you building? It's because they remain in that abandoned, poor 25% class and they're locked in. So you got to, what I'm saying to brothers, go to the source. Who is making these arguments? Who is saying these things? You are focused on the bottom 25% of black society, and they're the loudest in the room because they're the ones that are locked into that poverty. The rest of us, we're moving up. So that's why I agree with Complex. And I think Nagone says as well, there's no debate at this point.
There never was a debate. Okay, guys like Janks Morton and said, what black men think. They cleared this thing up back in 2006. Talked about it. And ran down one of the most critical documentaries that we can have. Now we're going to try to get Janks Morton on, and we're going to try to get Dr. T. Hassan on as well. I don't care what it costs because we'll come with the money for it.
We'll get the money together. Yeah, we'll get it together.
I'll do it, no problem. This is going down. This shit is coming to an end because I'm getting a little tired of sitting here listening to absolute madness going down around here, and people calling us the management. This ain't no fucking management. Got females up in here getting on panels sitting there, they're telling you,
man, get the fuck out of here.
That you're dominating, and they are, and they're breeders of beta male coons.
Well, man, get up out of here, man.
Nagone,
what the fuck is that?
Nagone, you bring up.
There, hold a second, and black man sitting there, listening to this, letting this person say it, who has no credibility, been discredited, okay, has shown absolutely no integrity whatsoever, has shown a her disdain for you, and you people are sitting here entertaining this. Now that's what got me tight about the brothers. That's what got me tight about the brothers. I don't know what you guys are on, but why are you sitting here even listening to this kind of madness? I mean, I'm damn near 60 years old. I'm sitting here. I can't believe it. My head's spinning.
I can't believe it. Right. Same here, man. I can't believe
it. I find this incredible. And people talking about there's a problem for you to not accept craziness and walk into and accept craziness and say you got to take this on. These are people who have no skin in the game, and they're telling you to go in here and take these risks. What I want people to do is this: let everybody do homework or something. There's some documentaries out in case you just don't want to read it. I want you guys to do 50 years after the Moynihan decision. After the Moynihan report. I want you people to start doing a little research there. Okay, because now it's time to get some education. Now it's time for you to get edified, to understand the mechanisms that are in place here that are working against you, and how we have so many brothers who are out here really, really going against this. That's the only reason why we're up and running. Okay, and it's your middle class, your educated lane brothers who are taking the brunt of this. Okay, I don't see Pookie and Ray Ray and the gangsters that they're out of it. They're not a part of the game. You may have one or two that they say and they laud them up and that's about it, but they're out. Okay, yeah. You're conscious people and all this. Most of the people are not even a part of it. They're not even a part of it. They're not even a part of this. They're sitting around here talking a lot of shit, but they're not a part of it. All right, they're not building the institutions. They're not building your insurance companies. They're not building your banks. They're not building your
They're not building the blockchain applications. They ain't building shit.
Now, that's the first time I heard Nagone say that before. I never heard him say that whole thing about the black manosphere no longer being a man. Because that, to me, this marks a critical moment because he's one of the few people who has seen all the manifestations of this thing. And for him, that's the first time I heard him say that now he sees that it's been infiltrated because I've been throwing around terms like the freedom of movement.
I consider myself a true manosphere black man. Mm-hmm. True manosphere, old school.
Day one.
This mutant, a debauched, form that's out here right now is, well, I guess this is where it was going to go, but I don't recognize it as such. Okay, women are not to be up here and here ragging and talking shit about, well, SYSBM is about females. Who the fuck are you to come here and tell a black man about what it's about females? They ain't been able to get your ass the fuck out of the picture so brothers can sit here and get our minds right up in here. Okay, you females need to be over there with your other females, helping to get your mind right. And there's no black women up here, damn near looking at damn near to step up and take the charge on this. Most of these black females don't even want to deal with these other black females.
No, they don't.
Okay, the other half of them that are 45 and 50 years old are trying to fuck the same niggas that their daughters are fucking.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So you're looking at that as derelict as that shit, and they're telling you to go fuck with it. Half these bitches up here running around YouTube and all this crap like that, looking for cash apps from half you Negroes.
Real
right?
shit.
You know what I'm saying? And what sucker lay dick they can get. Okay, because they're looking for a cash out plan. The fuck out of my face.
Doing chat room hypergamy up in this motherfucker. But
okay, I got nothing.
Chat room hypergamy.
Man, I see hoes. I see hoes on one dude's panel, and they sweating him, and then they on the other side talking shit about the panel that they just left from, then hitting you with a I mean, these hoes is doing.
But forget about all that. That's what they do. That's what you have to understand. I understand it. Okay, that's why I don't even get angry. I just say fuck it, keep it moving. I ain't wasting time with that. We don't have time for that. Okay, we don't have time for that. We got brothers hitting the continent. We got a lot of other stuff going. We're getting thumbs down now because brothers are hitting the continent.
Man, it's a lot of thumbs down that got on.
Look at what people are upset about. Look at what people are upset about.
Who didn't go on, man? Thanks for getting the dislike from folks. As soon as you got on, it just dislike.
Gentlemen, you got to look at the situation on the ground. You want to talk about SYSBM and its tenants? These people are terrified of a lot of that because now that means a meritocracy. Now that means these are people who are going to sit down and start producing, and those who are not going to do any of this are going to sit back and go against you because why? They get exposed. They get exposed for the bullshit that they're fucking running, and it won't stand up under the harsh test of scrutiny. Because at the end of the day, they ain't gonna be about doing anything. Okay, the brothers who are tending to run around tend to have money, tend to be a little bit more tend to be a little bit brighter in many respects, and that's a big part of the game. And your community is not only national but it's international, and I know a lot of people can't understand that either. But that's kind of what we're on. I very much would like people to take a look at 50 years since the Moynihan report. Take a look at that.
That's what's up. Yeah.
No.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm gonna drop off. I'm just gonna drop off. I'm gonna get lunch ready for my little one.
All right,
now, go ahead, Complex. You were gonna say something else, Complex.
Hey, Nagone, you got it, bro. You got it, man. Shit, you got it.
But I think that brothers in this space get too much credence to women in that bottom quarter. Because again, I've been thinking about it a lot more. Who are these women that these dudes are listening? Like, why are you listening to the bottom quarter of black women? Now, their narratives have to be countered because again, propaganda is one of the oldest war tactics for creating bad conditions. So that the messaging has to be countered, but actually uplifting these.
Once again, King Sigmund, the bad conditions have been going on for about the last 45, 50 years. The bad conditions have been here. That's why half of the dysfunction you see is here because of that. That's what you're seeing, all right? And then you've had a media, okay, a male bastion media that has been out here tearing you out the frame for at least the last 35 years, 40 years, damn near, okay? Tearing you out the frame on a regular, consistent basis. So we've had that. This has been somewhat of the counter. And look at what you're getting. And now you got a lot of other brothers sitting there saying, "Oh, you're gonna destroy the black community." Destroy what? Destroy what black community? Okay, what black banking systems are you in control of? How much black land and property do you control in your community?
Zero.
What institutions of power are you really controlling? The reason why they could fuck your schools up because you don't own enough property. Property taxes pay for your schools. I dropped that on a live stream with some cats a few months ago. Guys, well, I don't know how to deal with that. No, of course you don't know how to deal with that. Because at the end of the day, that's what's got you fucked. Okay, who's sitting here talking about buying up a lot of land? Well, this is where you guys are derelict. There's a whole system that has been designed to knock a lot of you out. And the brothers who are thinking are not sitting around trying to sit here and totally trying to fix it. A lot of brothers are making their moves to get their game together so that they can come. And a lot of brothers are starting to come back to the community because they see that there's a lot of value there. Like in Harlem and so forth. A lot of cats are coming back and are invested and are moving in because they're saying, hey, hold on 1 second. This is one of the areas that we can be in, and because if we get knocked out of here, where else are we going to go? That's why I see a lot of other cats who are coming in, investing, and so forth. But then you have a lot of others who want to fight some of them. Same cats who are sitting there telling you they're the blackest are the ones who are going to give you some of the biggest resistance. Why
Hey,
is
to
that?
go, man. Before I started Borgen, I wanted to speak on that. What you were saying about, about the debate. One of the reasons there is none because of what we are building, and the reason they go on these panels and they're like SYSBM, what are y'all building? What are y'all building? It's because we're building in silence. We come on these panels and in the back channels, we make networks, we make deals, we link up with other brothers. And then we do these things. And as we move in silence, I guarantee you, all of a sudden, 10, 15 years, it's just going to go boom. Just like the question Black Guru was answering, like, where's it going to look in, 15, 20 years? All of a sudden, it's just going to snap. And it's just going to be two distinct societies of Black people. I'm not going to say the word up here on the stream, but y'all know what Chris Rock said, blacks versus you know who. And that's what it's going
Well,
to be just because of what we're doing right now.
well, those were some of the conditions you actually saw in Rwanda. I mean, and that country had to recover from that. But I don't want to get so much into that. I just want to make sure we get our minds right up in here, because that's one of my key things. Get your mind right. All right. And I want cats at least thinking on that. When we sit down and we talk about a mentoring, a tutoring that we do here on the Black Brain Trust, a couple of cats who I'm talking to right now behind the scenes. Mike talks to guys behind the scenes, but they're the guys we talk to behind the scenes, trying to get their careers correct, trying to really show them how to really present themselves now, to move into maybe some different sectors in the tech community, how to get their resumes and just really how to get their technical presentation correct and really be able to move forward and take advantage of this technocratic society we're moving into. Okay, this more technical society that we're moving to. They're brothers that are on it. We're not talking about women. Okay, these are guys who are running SBM or SYSBM. They're not talking. We're not talking about women. It's not, well, this female here, what this bitch said on this, on this, whatever. No, that's just not going on. All right, that's not going on when I'm sitting here talking to someone maybe about the consultative selling process and how to really involve yourself into that as a part of your presentation if you really want to kind of take a different role in this tech industry as a sales engineer or something of that nature, to make some different changes. How do you make certain transitions? What kind of skill sets are you going to need to do that? What do you need to know? These types of things. Okay, these are kind of resources that others are laying on. Nobody's talking about that. You don't see what's going on with respect to that. You don't understand. And if it's one brother at a time, so be it. Okay, that's saving yourself. And healthy at the end of the day, okay, any woman you link up with, whoever that may be, okay, they're gonna come to you and deal with you in a way that you want to be dealt with, not because it was some other man's patriarchy. What are you talking about? And here we are in our society and culture. We don't have a full patriarchy here. We're talking about some other man's patriarchy. The patriarchy you develop is the household you develop. That's your patriarchy. All right. And whoever you bring into that will fall underneath that. I don't give a damn where they come from. Okay, maybe it'd be a black one, maybe somebody else. Some of that community is going to change, whether you guys like it or not. That's how it is. It's already moving in that direction. Nothing you can do about it. And these guys who are crying and screaming about it, they have no power. They're as impudent as a eunuch in a harem. They can't fuck, and they're up in here talking about, well, goddamn it, if I had a dick, I'd be doing this. Well, you don't. So you're sitting here, man, impotent as a motherfucker, looking at this shit. All right. Let's look at those who are sitting here making the moves. Right. Your family, what you build, that's the nucleus of your community, and you start to build. You start to build from there. And that's what's going on right now. Okay. I can look at home. I look at all these East African families coming through. I see how this community is starting to develop. My feet are on the ground. I watch this very closely. All right. I see what's going on. All right. Forget about this talk. These jokers on YouTube. Look at what's going on in the streets. I see what's going on. All right. And things are starting to kind of congeal in certain kind of ways that maybe some of these guys may not like, because maybe there's not going to be a spot for you. But these productive people whose families are sitting back and vibing as a family unit, okay, where they've got a net worth of 100,000 and over, okay, these are the people who are going to be making it. All right. All right. And yes, many of us are black. Some of them are coming from the continent. Some of us are coming from the islands. Many of us are here. That's just where you're at right now. That's why there's no debate. There's no debate about this. All right. This is about merit. This is about development. This is what this is really about. That's what a lot of people can't don't really want to talk about. And those who don't have any merit, those who are sitting back here not working, not doing shit, expecting a fucking handout. I'm not just talking about men. I'm talking about the women as well, who are going to sit back and expect you to come and hook them up and be because they're blackly black. Nah, man. No, you're going to do better than that. You actually are going to have to do better than that. You actually going to have to do that if you're going to survive as a community. When you look at very successful ones, that's about what they do. It's not about, well, because I'm Chinese, that's why you got to be with me. Nah, man. Nah, not at all. No, it's because I'm an Arab. No, not at all. I look over here in Yonkers over here, and you got these Jordanians and these others who are sitting back here doing nothing but putting their cash dollars together. All right, and they got more hatred for freaking Muslims than anyone else, and they have closed ranks. They've hunkered down, and everybody's making their moves, and they're buying up land. They're making moves that people are getting upset about. White folks are getting upset about what they're doing because they can't stop them because they're putting their money in their they're putting their money and their resources together. And they're not letting anybody get in the middle of that. Okay, and we're starting to do some of that. We got to do a lot more of that. But man, let me tell you, you can't do that with people who are untrained, people who are uncivilized, people who have no civility for you. You can't do it with them. You can't. So it's going to have to be some smaller groups and more like-minded people. That's exactly how that works. It's always worked that way. The military understands that as well. You know, right? And people want to talk about a military, or you want to talk about racist, or let's say white supremacy institutions. The military is one of the most. Shit, over the last 50 years, the only thing they've done is going to war against yellow, black, and brown people. That's all I've ever seen. That's all I see. Currently, to this very day, that's all we see. So people want to talk about white supremacy and all that. Well, if you're in the bowels of it, if you're in the ball sack of it, well, maybe you should learn from it. Instead of talking about what white supremacy is doing to you, maybe you should learn from that. All right, because I see the brothers who are learning from some of this white supremacy are doing above average things. All right, and as many of us in our community, many of us, and these people who are pushing this narrative, oh, you ain't doing this, you ain't building that, you ain't building that, you ain't building that. Most of these people, most of them, that's your enemy. I hate to say it, that's your fucking enemy. That's your bogey right there. And I'm calling that out, and I don't give a fuck. I'm calling you all out. That's what it is. You're the problem. So that's the deal. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about it. All right, there is no fucking debate. All right, there is none.
Oh shit, I'm talking. I didn't even realize I wasn't even part of the fucking panel. All right, all right, man. So this is the problem here. Is that those people, not that we should focus on them at all, but the reason why they want to see people build is because they've been the beneficiary of all types of things that they're not worth. Building black men being one of them. So it's just that I'm happy these people are moving in silence. I know a ton of people who are doing a ton of shit. We have completely left out of this shit and left all this stuff alone, man. They've left it all alone. These people are already off doing their own thing. And what people don't realize is that this stuff isn't hard. It's hard to do when you have people who don't want to work with you, but this is just one group of people. There's people everywhere who you actually can work with. Thanks for the $5 super chat, keep in mind. But it's just that you have to realize at the end of the day, choice and what you choose to do with choice is more powerful than waiting to be chosen by somebody who's inferior than you. That's it. It's no harder than that, right? So I'm not sure where we need to go from here, but we need to get some stuff straight. Black male agency and autonomy from this current gynocratic system is what you need to do. You need to go into other areas of the country where you can witness order and things working. You need to know what that's like, even if you've never been raised around. This is why I did very well in systems that had a bunch of order associated until I was able to do my own stuff. Because you can't be a good owner unless you're a damn good employee. Period. So this is what you have to do to make the next step in life. And you have to learn how to pitch no-hitters. Stop waiting for the outfield. That's everybody else. You got to pitch no-hitters out here. And you can't be waiting on these other people because a lot of them are going to want to come straight into your camp to try to take things back to other people, which you don't need. So it's not clean up here, so I got something to do at 5 o'clock. So any last words, Trey MBD?
No, brother, just just like keep doing what we're doing. There's no debate, and let's just keep getting after it, brothers.
All right, cool, man. No, I'm gonna drop you off of here and let City of Truth back up. Oh well, drop yourself out. City of Truth. Any last word before we get up out of here?
Oh no, man! Great conversation, and let's just hope we have more productive conversations in the future.
Yeah, no problem, man. But I've got down all these books that everybody discussed, and we're gonna start probably discussing those like every Sunday. So that way we can start opening up this stuff. So that way we can let people know that this stuff was foretold that this was going to happen. So the results are a surprise to nobody, except for the people who are actually happy with those results. Super Trez, any last words there?
Yo, thanks for having me. The people that have an issue with the outcomes of quote unquote mixed race unions. If you look at things from a standpoint of actually competing in male dominance, a dominant male should have access to any woman he wants. And if women were truly concerned about outcomes, they would look at winning a war. They would look at taking a part in the victory of said war by participating in attrition. So you stand by a man who takes a woman from another man as well. There's brief talk in the chat about polygamy. So you should be standing. So these women, that want to see black man prevail, encourage your man to go out and grab another woman, so that way they lose the war by attrition as well. But see, they won't say that. But I'll just leave it at that. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. All right. Trez, thanks for coming through, man. Black Oral Strikes.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the panel, Man of Tomorrow. I guess I'll just leave it with it. And Nagone, to sort of summarize some of what Nagone was saying, I think in general, men need to stop listening and talking with women as much as we do. We need to begin to wean ourselves off of the somewhat seductive desire to want to be appreciated and congratulated by women. And I think to the extent we begin to do that, I think we will begin to see more clearly towards getting our mind right and our money right, as to quote Nicole. And on the point of getting the mind right, and maybe this is something that will come up with the books you present, MOT. I like to, in the manosphere, really begin to have an in-depth exploration of what it truly means for a black man to get his mind right today. Because I think that's the key to all of the rest of this, getting your mind right. And so I'll end it with that.
You have a good one, man.
Thanks.
Black Oral Strikes coming through, man.
Sure.
King Sigma.
All right, as always, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation. I think it's a good follow-up to your debate. If anything, your debate really clarified in my mind where this thing is going and how far the distance is between the black men that are moving in a freedom of choice lane and a freedom of movement lane versus those that are the closest to the abandoned poor. They have a cultural problem that can only be solved by the men and women within that class. And that's what it is. And in regards to how people are reacting to the growth of interracial relationships and mixing, these people are idiots, because it's been proven at a genetic level that when you look at the black native population, that we have 1/3 of us has a white ancestor that is mostly a white slave owner. This is a fact, and I know it hurts, but all of us, 1 out of 3 of us has a white ancestor that was a European that came here, that was most likely a slaveholder. So this whole mixing thing was a normal thing before the advent of the slavery system, black men, black women, white men, white women, natives, they were all mixing, and Mexicans and shit like that. So what we're just going back to a time when we didn't have these kind of racial issues, and it was more of a sociological, how do you best survive and meet the demands of the reality of your age. We're in the fourth industrial age, and as more and more black men free themselves from office places and traditional work schedules, as they mix in like technology with their skill set, they're going to be free to make a lot of decisions. So everyone's going to have to deal with that. And it's not just other blacks, whites, blacks, whoever. I don't care at this point. Like, black men, we're coming. We're going to grow. We're taking full agency and control of our own lives. And it's going to be a lot of people that are uncomfortable, but it is what it is. It's our time to grow or die. That's what I'm saying. Like, either we're going to grow or we're going to die and be wiped out of this whole gene pool and out of the political and economic conversation. So with that, you guys have a great one. Until next time.
All right, to go.
All right. Yeah, I just want to say what we want to think about is we want to have good outcomes. I don't care how we come about those good outcomes when I'm talking about what exact profession you say you're going to be into, and I don't care if you are doing plumbing or if you're doing IT. All right, we want to have good outcomes. All right, that's going to take work, and what I want every brother here to really sit back and think about is what can I do to make my game a little bit better on a daily and consistent basis. Every day we want to get better, and if we're not getting better every day, then we've got problems. All right, let's just be very real about that. It's going to take one man at a time. One man at a time. All right, had an individual who got a CDL license. All right, sent him over to an individual, Alfano School here, and he got involved in this program, and he saved himself. That's exactly what he did. Okay, we put him in, he came out, he did a petty crime, guys, petty crime, stole some construction equipment off of a construction site, some machines and stuff, and sold them and ended up getting.
Hold a second. Thank you for the $10 cash app, Lamb Hendricks. I didn't know I put the cash app. All right, but go ahead, man.
Yeah. He stole some equipment and he ended up doing a little time. He came out. He wanted to get his life back together again, and he was running with some derelict as well. Got a kid, and what did he do? He came out. Been out for a couple of years. I was at a political function. I'm a district leader here in my area, so I use my political connections with Al and so forth, and the group that I work with, and we got him, into the program. Didn't have to pay him any money. He didn't have to pay a dime. He went in there, took advantage of it, and boom, he's out and he's driving cross country right now, making some very nice money, and he saved himself. He saved. He had people to help him. Myself, thank God, I was around, and others were there to help him. But there were those to help him to get into this program. He's driving cross country, doing his thing. Now trying to get. I'm not gonna get all to the other stuff with the woman and all, but he's getting custody of his kid himself right now. So he got to get rid of that, and he's got to move forward. And he's training for his mechanics license in the whole game, which is being subsidized for him to help him move forward, which is money well spent. But here's an individual getting his life together. Now, I'm not talking about people who go into higher levels of IT and so forth. It's just this guy getting the CDL, okay, making 50, maybe 60 grand he'll make this year with all the time he's going to be putting in. All right, from where he was. So you have to save yourself. You better be about that. You better be around other people who can help you. Not around these people who are talking smack and can't deliver a ham sandwich for you. You have to sit down and really, really, really work hard, and there'll be those who will be out there to help you get better at what you're doing. We have to think about this, right? 2053, we talk about, that's not too far off, all right? So we talk about this is where it's going to be ground zero for a lot of us. See it right now, all right? So we have to really put a lot of foot to ass right now and pedal to the metal to consistently improve on ourselves. All right. And this is one brother at a time. And that's what we have to do. We have to be very, very, very on top of that to get good outcomes. All right. All right. That's just where we are, man. That's where we're at with this. I'm not talking about the women. I'm not talking about anything else like that. This is what we have to do. And once you begin to move in that orderly way, all right, everything else begins to fall into place. All right. Certain things you're not going to accept on the other side. A lot of things you're not going to go for. As you improve, that's where we're at, and that's what this manosphere, and that's what channels like this should be about. This is what it's about. All right. The other people, it's just they're not about improvement of brothers, really. They don't want to talk about that, you know. But this is what we really have to talk about and put a lot of emphasis on, because it's our asses on the line. And I'll say this one more time: we don't have many friends out here. We really don't. We are our best friends. Whether we understand that or not is another question. I'll leave it at that.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks for coming through, man. I want to thank everybody for coming through. It's something we'll start doing every Sunday. Not sure what the time is. We need to nail the time before the Rumble. Obviously, that we need to talk about Sunday solutions. I guess that's what I should call it. So that we can have a solution-based conversation about things that are going on around here and the way you should be able to move from here on out. So I'm the man tomorrow. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I really appreciate y'all coming through for the super chats and cash apps. Y'all have a really nice day. See y'all next Friday or Saturday. Have a nice one.